On the afternoon of November 24, 1971, a man walked into an airport in Portland, Oregon. He was calm. Ordinary. Forgettable. He wore a dark suit, a white shirt, a thin black tie, and sunglasses. Nothing about him stood out. At least, not yet. He approached the counter, paid cash for a one-way ticket to Seattle, and gave a name that no one would ever forget. Dan Cooper. No one knew it at the time, but this man was about to commit one of the most mysterious crimes in modern history, and then disappear forever. This is the true story of D.B. Cooper. The flight was Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 305. A short trip. Only about 30 minutes in the air. There were 36 passengers on board, along with a small flight crew. Everything felt routine. Ordinary conversations. The quiet hum of engines. No one sensed anything unusual. Shortly after takeoff, Cooper leaned forward and handed a note to a flight attendant. At first, she barely glanced at it. Notes from passengers weren't uncommon. She assumed it was a phone number or a harmless message. She folded it and slipped it into her pocket. That's when Cooper calmly spoke. "You should read that," he said. "I have a bomb." The attendant froze. She opened the note. Inside were clear, deliberate words. Cooper claimed he was carrying a bomb in his briefcase and would use it if his demands were not met. He wasn't angry. He wasn't panicked. He was calm. Almost polite. Cooper opened his briefcase just enough for the attendant to see inside. What appeared to be wires, batteries, and cylindrical objects sat neatly arranged. Whether it was real or not didn't matter. No one was willing to find out. Cooper made his demands simple and precise. $200,000 in cash. 4 parachutes. And a refueling truck waiting in Seattle. If his demands were met, he promised everyone would be safe. The pilot was informed. Authorities were contacted. The plane quietly circled the airspace while preparations were made. No alarms were raised inside the cabin. Passengers were told there was a minor delay. Most never realized they were part of a hijacking. When the plane landed in Seattle, Cooper kept his word. Once the money and parachutes were delivered, he allowed all passengers to leave the aircraft unharmed. No shouting. No chaos. Just a man sitting alone with his briefcase, and $200,000 in cash. Only the flight crew remained on board. That's when Cooper gave his next instruction. He ordered the plane to take off again, this time toward Mexico. But there were conditions. The plane had to fly low. The cabin had to remain unpressurized. And the landing gear had to stay down. It was an unusual set of demands, ones that puzzled even experienced pilots. But they complied. As the aircraft flew south into the night, storm clouds formed outside. Rain battered the fuselage. Darkness swallowed the sky. Somewhere over the forests of the Pacific Northwest, Cooper made his final move. He calmly tied the money to himself. Put on a parachute. And then, at approximately 8:13 p.m., he opened the rear staircase of the aircraft. Wind roared into the cabin. The crew felt a sudden shift in pressure. And then, he was gone. Dan Cooper jumped into the night. No one saw him fall. No one heard a scream. No one ever saw him again. The plane landed safely. Authorities immediately launched one of the largest manhunts in U.S. history. FBI agents searched forests, rivers, mountains, anywhere Cooper could have landed. They found nothing. No parachute. No body. No trace. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into years. And the mystery only deepened. The FBI analyzed every detail. The money Cooper received had recorded serial numbers. If he ever spent it, he would be found. But the bills never surfaced. Not in banks. Not in stores. Not anywhere. It was as if the money, and Cooper, had vanished into thin air. Experts debated endlessly. Some believed Cooper died during the jump, lost to the wilderness. Others argued he knew exactly what he was doing, that he had military experience, parachuting skills, and a carefully planned escape. The truth remained unclear. Then, nearly a decade later, something strange happened. In 1980, a young boy digging near the Columbia River uncovered several decaying bundles of cash. The serial numbers matched Cooper's ransom money. It was the first, and only, confirmed physical evidence ever found. But it raised more questions than answers. Why was only a small portion of the money there? Did Cooper lose it? Bury it? Or was it planted by nature itself? Once again, the trail went cold. Over the years, dozens of suspects emerged. Former soldiers. Paratroopers. Criminal masterminds. Men who confessed on their deathbeds. None could be proven. Every theory had holes. Every lead ended in silence. In 2016, 45 years after the hijacking, the FBI officially closed the case. Not because it was solved, but because it never could be. To this day, D.B. Cooper remains the only unsolved skyjacking in U.S. history. No confirmed identity. No confirmed fate. Just a name, a briefcase, and a leap into darkness. Some say he didn't survive the jump. Others believe he lived out his life quietly, watching the world search for a man who no longer existed. And that's what makes this story unforgettable. Not the money. Not the crime. But the mystery. Because somewhere between the clouds and the forest below, a man stepped out of history and became a legend.